yeah, yeah, siga, yeah. Yeah, alright. Hey boys and girls, welcome to another super exciting, outrageous toy review. Today we're taking a look at the Power Rangers Lightning Collection, Fighting Spirit Green Ranger, and Mighty Morphin Putty. I love the Lightning Collection from Hasbro. I was so excited when Bandai started their Legacy Collection, but the Lightning Collection is so much better, and I'm really hoping that we can get a whole bunch of complete teams and continue to get monsters and bad guys. The Lord Zed figure from this line is incredible, and I'm so excited to get a putty here. The package has a big window that shows off the figures inside, as well as some interesting card art of the characters. Unfortunately, there's no cross-sell art on the back, so we didn't get any previews of future releases. Here we've got the two figures out of the package, and did I mention yet how excited I am for the Lightning Collection? Ugh! This will hopefully be the Power Rangers toy line I have always wanted. And I'm serious, I want all the Rangers, and I want all the Foot Soldiers, and I want all the main bad guys, and I want all the Generals. I know we won't get all the Monsters of the Week, but the Foot Soldiers would be really cool, as well as the Leader and the General. You know, we're getting Goldar, we got Zed. Hopefully they could do a Rita down the line. I'd be pretty happy with that, as long as we could get, you know, the Z Putty also, probably. Would I love Scorpina and Finster and the rest of the Palace people? Absolutely. Stay on target, Kevin. Do the review. Forget about the Lightning Collection for a minute. Alright. So, for the uninitiated, Fighting Spirit Green Ranger. That may be, you know, what's that all about? Okay. So, you have the Green Ranger, who showed up in Mighty Morphin. We all know and loved Tommy, the Green Ranger. And most of his footage was from the Japanese show. A lot of people know that the American footage, when we shot stuff as filler, or, you know, where Jason David Frank was actually in the outfit, you could see the difference in his shield. Because we didn't have the original Japanese shield, the American prop makers had to make their own, and it was like a fabric thing instead of a rubber or whatever the Japanese one was. So that was real obvious. That was a major difference, and that was from in the same episodes sometimes. Then, down the road, they brought Tommy back to try and re-energize Power Rangers during Power Rangers Dino Thunder. He was the Black Ranger, and he was sort of the mentor to the team. There was a part of that storyline where he had to fight his other versions. He had to fight the Green Ranger, the White Ranger, and the Zeo Red Ranger. I don't think he had to fight Red Turbo. I don't think he fought Red Turbo. But anyway, in that, they didn't use the original costume. I just guess didn't have access to the original Green Ranger costume. But the one that they used, it was maybe a fan-made one or something like that, but the helmet had a different paint detail. It had some silver on it, just like this one. So this figure is meant to represent that part, this astral projection, this mental battle Tommy went through. I assume we will get a regular Green Ranger at some point. It's a real easy repaint, you know, and they can do a standard retail release with him that way. My other thought, and maybe somebody will know in the comments down below, the helmet that Tommy wore as the Green Ranger in Super Mega Force for the big Infinity War thing, whatever that was called, that helmet had silver on it. Is it the same as the Fighting Spirit? Is this the outfit? Could this be the Mega Force, the Super Mega Force battle appearance? I'm not sure. I would have to look at a picture from both of those episodes to compare Dino Thunder to Mega Force, but that would be kind of an interesting thing to look at. So we have sort of a unique one episode, or maybe two episode variant Green Ranger here, packed in with an army builder. That is a little bit of a kick to the pants if you're a army builder, that, you know, you can't get a whole bunch of putties without getting a whole bunch of Green Rangers and weird Green Rangers at that. So I'm really hoping that the putty will get an individual release. Maybe he'll be a shade darker, because this putty is, to me, seems a hair light. The Z putties were very light, but I always kind of felt like the Mighty Morphin ones were a little darker. So I don't know what will happen with that, but I'm very interested to see. We're going to start by taking a look at the putty because he's here. The putties are the original foot soldiers from Mighty Morphin. They're really weird. They're made out of clay and baked in an oven, and then they just turn into these guys that got goofier and goofier as the show went on. The American footage definitely made the putties way sillier than they were in the Japanese footage. The stunt guys had a lot of fun choreographing little silly things for them to do. But, so we've got the putty here. You know, the original costume is like a gray suit, almost like a morph suit, but it has a little rubber mask, and then he had rubber gloves, and sometimes the gloves were Rocky fists, and sometimes they were actually like a Rocky weapons. Not in a lot of episodes, but it's neat that they've included those. And then it just kind of goes down a little belt, and then some boots. So, the putty has articulation at the head. There's a hinge as well as a ball joint, so that's really great for motion. He's got butterfly joints in the shoulders, as well as a hinge and rotation, so you've got a really nice range of motion there in the arm. There's a swivel below that. Double jointed elbows. There is a swivel at the wrist. Now, both of these hands are removable because you can trade them in for other weapons. There is the Boulder Fist, as well as just another putty, rock hand. This one's actually open, so he could sort of hold an accessory or choke somebody or whatever. So I think that's cool, and you could put them on either side. So, theoretically, when you get a whole bunch of these, you could decide if some of them are armed with regular arms and some of them are armed with the weapon arms. He's got a rotation below the pecs there, like a crunch, actually. And then there's a crunch below that, so it's a double crunch. That's very impressive. And that also, the top crunch works as a rotation point. There is not a rotation point right at the belt there. He's got really nice range of motion at the hips and a swivel cut below that. Very much like Marvel Legends, which is awesome with these also made by Hasbro. You got double jointed knees on your putties there. If I can get the lower joint to bend, there we go. There's a boot cut, swivel there. He's got a hinge at the boot that, oh, there we go, now it's moving. As well as a rocker motion there, which is really great. There's even some sculpting detail on the tread of his boots. Pretty cool. I like this guy a lot. I'm wondering if we'll see some variations in the black stripes if we get a retail release. I kinda don't want a retail release to be a different shade of gray, even though I think this one might be a hair too light, because then this guy will stick out and not really work well for army building. But I wouldn't mind if the retail release had a slightly different black pattern on the chest, because that wouldn't really stand out that much. One other signature thing about the Lightning Collection is all the characters seem to come with a blast effect. The putty has this little blue explosion. It seems very similar to the one that came with the White Ranger we've already seen at retail, but I didn't compare it to it, so I'm not sure if it's exactly the same or not. Time to take a look at the Green Ranger. Now, the Green Ranger, you can see, is holding the Sword of Darkness, and he also has a lightning blast effect that came along with that. Interestingly enough, the Sword of Darkness has nothing to do with the fighting spirit. So did they just pack it in because they tooled it up already to go with this Green Ranger and they said, it's a bonus. People will like getting extra accessories. I don't know. The lightning effect looks great. And of course, the cool thing about a lot of these effects is that these all just kind of work on any weapon. They're not really molded super specifically to one guy. So, you can kind of do whatever you want with posing with that stuff. Here's the Sword of Darkness. The paint scheme seems okay. I don't remember it having a white handle, but that might be show accurate. It's been a while since I've seen that 5-parter. Alright, so, Green Ranger with his special helmet. The chest armor looks really good. It's not gold, it's a slightly mustardy gold, but I like how it's a separate piece, so it can move around a little bit, which helps with articulation, things like that. And obviously, this chest harness goes on a Red Ranger, the Armored Red Ranger, which they released as a Comic-Con exclusive that I'm dying to get a hold of. So we got the ball joint at the head. That's also on a hinge, so great articulation there. He does have the same butterfly-type joints at the shoulders as the putty did, and all the rest of that motion there. It does get hindered a little bit by the shoulder pads, but it's not too bad because this is a separate piece and can float around. He's got that swivel below the shoulder. He's got the double-jointed elbows. He's got wrists that rotate and rock. he comes out of the package with one accessory gripping hand and one fist, but he is also packed with a karate chop hand and a hand for playing the flute. Actually, that goes on this side. He has the double crunch and rotation there in the chest, just like the Putty does. I guess I didn't notice that with the White Ranger because his chest armor is so much more intrusive, but the Putty made it very obvious how that articulation works. He's got his Morpher on his belt. It looks pretty good, although it feels tiny. It may be very screen accurate, but it feels very tiny and very flat, so I'm wondering how that is exactly. And then, of course, he's got a white holster here with the Dragon Dagger in it on his side. I wonder if the standard release will get the black holster. They could even do, if they did the one with the American armor, and they did like a really cheesy looking armor for him, they could do him with the holster and the blade blaster. Like there was one episode where that happened. I mean, they could do so many goofy things if they really wanted to, and people would buy him because he's the Green Ranger. Again, great rotation, a great motion at the hips, rotation just below that, double jointed knees, boot cut, rockers, and hinges at the ankles. So same articulation between the Green Ranger and the Putty, and I think he looks incredible. Alright, so now let's take a look at these hands with the Dragon Dagger here. The dagger is very tiny, but it was a pretty small weapon in the show. So he can hold it as a knife, but if he wants to play it, he needs his flute fingers. For some reason, I'm picturing him in the show holding the dagger with two hands when he plays the flute. No? Am I wrong? Am I insane? I don't know. Alright, so that works. I am being careful when I switch the hands, only because Bruno from MMPR Toys broke the wrist on one of his White Rangers. And that's had me nervous about switching hands on the Legacy Collection figures ever since. So I'm not doing too much of that. Ooh, let's see him with the Dragon Dagger, with the lightning effect on that. That's kind of cool looking. Bum, 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 bum. I don't know. Kind of like the sort of darkness where this accessory makes sense with a standard Green Ranger, but maybe not with the Fighting Spirit Green Ranger. We get a Tommy head. Now this was already tooled up because it is exactly the Tommy head that came with the White Ranger, who was already in the Legacy Collection. So we can pull off this helmet, pop on this head. Now he's not even the Fighting Spirit Green Ranger, he's just the Green Ranger. Unless we have him hold this helmet again, and then I'm not sure which one he is. He's definitely not the Megaforce version, if he's holding this head, because in Megaforce he had a different hairstyle. As a point of comparison, here's the Lightning Collection Fighting Spirit Green Ranger alongside the White Ranger that was already released at retail. They look great next to each other. It's really cool to be able to get these figures in this format. I really am happy Hasbro bought this brand. I really hope they do great things with it. And here we have the Hasbro Lightning Collection figure standing alongside the Bandai Legacy Collection figure. You can see they're very similar. Obviously, this one has the Mighty Morphin style helmet. He has the black holster on the opposite hip for his Dragon Dagger. He has the bigger Morpher, the way that I remember it, or proportionally the way I think it should look. But maybe it's totally wrong. They do both have the dragon coin on there. This one has gold on the outside, and this one has silver. Again, not sure exactly which one is more screen accurate, but I do like the gold that Bandai used a little bit more there. They're definitely a different scale, and what I like about this Lightning Collection over the Legacy Collection is that they're using more show-accurate body proportions, as well as the fact that we're getting the Ranger civilian heads. I think that's really cool. It's going to be a lot of fun to be able to collect the Rangers that way. Thanks for watching this super exciting, outrageous tour review. Make sure to like, subscribe, and in the comments down below, let me know if you're as excited about the Lightning Collection as I am, and who you think they need to release next, because they're skipping around for sure. So Who's your favorite Ranger or your favorite bad guy that needs to be released pronto?